Um, so my name is Simon Selstrom. I'm working together with Ada and Lucy and Huanxing at with the Cardano Oxford Student Hub. So I have myself finished a master's in economics, um, and Lucy is doing maths here at undergrad here at Oxford, and Huanxing is doing, I think it's called human. Huanxing, what is it that you study again? Oh no, he disappeared. Okay, well, um,
He's
I
doing
think
human science.
human sciences, and then Adako, you're doing a postdoc in something. Forgot.
In engineering, but I've got a background in economics, health economics, entrepreneurship too.
Right. Okay, so we're just gonna run through Project Catalyst assessments as quickly as we can. We're gonna talk about what Project Catalyst is, the assessment criteria we have, and a tiny bit about the rewarding schema and some practical tips and tricks. So first of all, what is it? Well, it is an experiment, first of all, in decentralized governance. So in the future, the blockchain protocol itself, Cardano, will become governed fully by the community, but as a sort of stepping stone and as a training ground, they're first starting with this treasury decision and use Catalyst as a sort of experiment to learn how to do governance in a good manner. So it is quarterly, that is to say, 4 times per year. It's not following the quarters exactly. The total amount is around $16 million. And most of it is going to go to various projects, but a lot of it is for incentives. And out of the incentives, out of the 4 million, the majority of that goes to voters. So if you vote in Project Catalyst, you are actually rewarded proportionally to how much ADA you have, the currency. So if you know people who are like whales or have tons of ADA, you tell them to vote. It's definitely worth it. If you don't have that much ADA, it's not like going to be a significant amount. But if you have like I don't know, like a million ADA, it's gonna ramp up for sure. It's yeah. So there are more details about exactly how much everyone gets, but 4%, I believe, is what's been given to proposal assessors. So 4% of this 16 million, and 1% is given to veteran proposal assessors. Now, all of this is a lot of money, so they divide it into challenges. Each challenge has a certain problem that it seeks to solve. So it could be there's lack of infrastructure in Africa. Or it could be we need more community hubs, we need more media, we need more applications, or we need more tools for ecosystem developers. Um, and then also KPIs, like how many users does this thing have? How many people are now having an ADA wallet thanks to our products or the thing project that we've done. So for our student hub, I think we've put up stuff like Instagram followers or members in their Discord. So we actually got funded through Project Catalyst because a while back. So Adako, perhaps could you send the link to our proposal in the chat so that people have something to.
Yeah, I'll say that. I just wanted to mention for people that have no idea about any of these things. So ADA is basically, or ADA, it's the currency used for Cardano. So when you see $16 million worth of ADA, just know that we'll get into it. But when you start, even when you get ADA, you can exchange that back to pounds, dollars, or whatever. So just want to make that a bit clear. Yeah, I'll send the link into the chat of the example proposal.
Okay. So here is the funding cycle. So it starts with 1 week of insight sharing, and that just means that you talk about the challenges. You kind of analyze it and think about, okay, so each challenge is seeking to solve a problem, but what is this problem like really about? And just to understand the challenge. Then you have proposal submission, and that's where you only submit proposals. You can submit after that as well, up like throughout these 3 weeks. But the first stage is okay, just submit something like a rough draft. refine it based on feedback so people can comment. And then in the last week, you just finalize it. We are currently in this phase, proposal assessment by PAs, proposal assessors, and that started on, last week on Thursday. So it's going to keep on going for another 8 days. And then it's going to be reviewed by those who have proposed, because proposers then get an opportunity to kind of read the reviews they got and like flag if there are some issues. If they flag it, that doesn't mean it's going to be removed, but it means that veteran proposal assessors are going to pay more careful attention to that one and like, you know, read up on it. But we're going to talk more about what that really means later. Here is just for your reference, like the timeline for this particular fund that is going on. So right now we are here, right, PAs, assessment period. So we are currently in the assessment period and it ends on the 14th actually. So it's actually slightly longer than it used to be. It used to be just a week. Now we have 2 weeks. Yeah, so this is more like a reference point. After veteran proposal assessors have read through the assessments that you guys have written, they're going to rate it. We're also going to mention that. But just to give you overview, after they've rated it, then all of these assessments go into a voting app. And in the voting app, people who hold ADA, they're going to, exercise their power. This is the governance phase. So this is more like technical details because you have to register as a voter and then they take a snapshot. So they look at how much ADA you have. And then, there's voting, there's counting the votes, and then there's publishing of the results. So that's in September 1st is what they're hoping to. Okay, so now let's talk about what it actually means, or like what you actually have to do as a proposal assessor. So proposal assessors, anyone can become an assessor. So you don't actually need to have any ADA yourself. This is quite uncommon in the blockchain space. You sign up using the link that I have here. So you go to the website, you create an account, and once you've done that, there's going to be a pop-up, and the pop-up is going to ask you, do you want to become a proposal assessor? And it's also going to ask you for a wallet address. So that's like a Cardano wallet address. If you have questions on that, you should join our Discord or ask some of the people here, and we can send you a link with a guide on how to create that. It's important that you actually don't directly use the interface on Cardano IdeaScale, but rather the community tool. But I'll elaborate on why later, but it's very helpful. So now let's talk about the purpose. What is really the purpose of the proposal assessors? The main purpose is to support the community voting phase by giving them some guidance, because there are over 1,000 proposals this round, and there's no way any person would have time to read all of it. So you need a bit like to give some kind of information and some guidance to the voters so that at least they can vote on like say 100 proposals. That's still quite a lot, but it's something to help them actually make some kind of informed decision. The assessments are rated by impact, feasibility, and auditability. We're also going to talk more about that. And it's also important, another sort of separate purpose of these assessments is to not just leave the ones who are proposing without any kind of feedback, but rather give them some information on perhaps why they did not win, like the funding. If you are a proposal assessor in 2 rounds and you submit good or excellent proposal assessments, then you qualify to become a veteran proposal assessors. And as a veteran, you'll be able to decide on which assessments are good or not. But I'll talk more about that. Here are some quick facts to know about being a PA, proposal assessor. You work anonymously, so you don't have to put your name there. You work independently. You shouldn't really talk about what grade you're giving to a certain proposal. Scores cannot be seen by other proposal assessors during the assessment phase. You can choose which proposals to assess, but obviously you shouldn't assess proposals of people that you are working with directly. I mean, within the community, everyone's going to know, or it's common that you know other people, but you should not assess. So I wouldn't assess a Cardano Student Hub proposal or any of my own. In fact, I won't be rewarded if I'm one of the proposers. You can, as mentioned here, you can be propose and be a proposal assessor in the same fund, but not in the same challenge, because the challenge are kind of siloed. They're separated. A person can be a proposal assessor and a veteran proposal assessor in the same fund, but not in the same challenge. And yeah, so that's that. Now let's talk about general guidance. So as mentioned before, you assess using the criteria outlined in the guide. So there's I think a 20-page guide or something that explains, like, it's quite extensive and has a lot of examples, but explains impact, feasibility, and auditability, and like what that really means. It's important to know that it's not about the idea that you're assessing, it's actually about these criteria. So an idea could be great, amazing, but they just haven't written out like how they're going to do it, or who's on the team, or how it's relevant for Cardano or the specific challenge. All of these things are grounds for putting a lower star, or like yeah, that you do not fully agree that, for example, this is a feasible proposal. You're not fully confident. Now, you also have to add a rationale. So you have to write a short text, like 100 words perhaps, or less, or slightly more, to explain why you gave the score you gave, but also to kind of summarize, at least a little bit, what they're doing, highlight some strengths, some weaknesses, and give some feedback. Like, that's the broad gist of what you kind of add into impact, feasibility, auditability. So in impact, well, actually, I'm going to wait with that because there's another slide on it. So some things I think you should do when writing an assessment. So it should actually not be each proposal, it should be each assessment here. Each assessment should briefly summarize the proposal, be considered and assessed on its own. Oh, or actually, yeah, so each proposal should be considered and assessed on its own, and you should not compare one proposal with another. You should consider attachment, links, and comments on idea scale, essentially all information that is available. It's quite common that you also kind of go into the proposer profile and see what kind of other things they've done, especially if they've asked for funds in the past or received funding. The purpose is to help the voters, so highlight strengths and weaknesses, and provide constructive criticism. Now, here is a bit more detail on what each of these dimensions really entail. So when it comes to impact, the key question is, does this add value to the Cardano ecosystem? It's not about impact like in a general sense, like doing something good for the world. It could be that malaria nets is extremely useful for the world, but the Cardano treasury is simply not, like, the purpose of the treasury is not to solve all the world's problems, but it's rather to solve problems based on blockchain technologies, and specifically the Cardano blockchain. You also have to consider challenge alignment. So as I mentioned before, each challenge is designed to solve a specific problem. So if you send in a proposal that just isn't solving that problem, then you should downgrade on the impact section. Although it's important to say that you don't have to put like a 1 or like a 1-star or 2-star just because it's not perfectly fitting in the challenge, because it could be something that's useful for the Cardano ecosystem. It just happened to the proposal was mistakenly putting it in the wrong challenge. Other things to consider: is it local or global? Can it scale in long term? Now, feasibility is the second dimension, and it is about whether or not this is likely to succeed. So you look at the proposer team, you look at the previous experience, you look at the details of the plan that they have. Have they really thought about this? Have they done the research? Do they seem credible? Have they explained the budget, timeline, and all the risks involved in this project? Clarity, auditability. Well, this one is about measuring progress and setting out KPIs. So that's key performance indicators, milestones, roadmaps, delivery dates, all of the things that help the community kind of keep track of what's going on. Next, so let's talk about rewards. Each proposal has a base budget for rewards. I don't have exact numbers, but I think it's if you think of it, 4% of all the money is allocated to proposal assessors. Some of that is going to be in the form of bonus, but you can get a rough estimate of how much money is dedicated to rewards. I think it's going to approach. Well, I'm not going to say any numbers because I'll probably get it wrong. But either way, there is a base budget that is going to be around account for, or it's budgeted for 3 good assessments and 2 excellent proposal assessments. I wrote proposal here, it should be assessments. And it's roughly going to be $60 for a good assessment and 180, so 3 times for an excellent assessment. Veteran proposal assessors are the ones who decide whether or not something is a good or excellent assessment. They are not anonymous; they are public. I was a veteran proposal assessor last round, and generally speaking, the excellent proposal assessments are, they're quite detailed. They add value that isn't just summarizing the proposal and saying, oh yeah, they had a budget. They're usually adding a bit more information that perhaps the assessor went into the LinkedIn and looked at the experience of the team. They looked at the past proposals that they've done and whether or not they've delivered, and they're just a bit critical. So they say, well, it's a good idea, but it seems like they're lacking in this dimension in the feasibility, and then just add new insights that might not be obvious to the voter. But I think it's important to say that only 1 or 2, I think between 1 and 3% of all assessments were excellent. So it's actually really, really hard to get excellent. They were very tough, I would say, the veteran proposal assessors last round. So very stringent in terms of giving excellence. So there's a bit of a trade-off. Should you aim for excellent or should you aim for good? I think you should aim for excellent because it's hard to, because the worst thing that can happen is that you get filtered out and you get nothing. So it's better to put in the proper effort, but don't overdo it. It's not essays. Keep it to 150 words at most per dimension, and be concise. So if a proposal has more than 3 good and 2 excellent assessments, then there's going to be a lottery. And if you have 1 excellent assessment, then you're going to get 12 lottery tickets. So you're going to have greater chance of winning. Each lottery is going to be worth a certain amount. So it could be I'm guessing something like $12, maybe $14. And there is a limited amount of winning tickets. So let's say there are tons of good and excellent proposals. So you have 100 lottery tickets. Out of these 100, there's going to be, say, 30. Well, I think the numbers are not adding up here, but let's say just for the sake of this example, 36 winning tickets. So that means you have 12 and then perhaps 6 of them are going to be winning tickets. So you're going to get 6 times whatever each ticket is worth. An important thing is that there's a large bonus for proposals that are voted through. So if you do win, or if whatever proposal you assess wins funding by the voters, so the voters vote in favor of it, then you're going to get a bonus that is a function of the budget. So by that, I mean, if there's a really, really large budget, like 500,000, and that one is funded and you assessed it, then you're going to get a bonus for having done that assessment. So it's good to target like large budget proposals and ones that are of high quality, or that you think are slightly more likely to get funded. One big mistake that I think is important to say here is that you do not align, that you give a rating that isn't aligned with what you're writing. So make sure that what you write in the text box is the same as, or is sort of aligned with the star rating. So here's how it looks on idea scale. On the right, you see that you have a star box. The bottom one is that you fully disagree, and here's you fully agree that to the prompt. You press save, that's important on each one of these, but you do not press next. Actually, let me follow the bullet points. So try to make use of a cheat sheet to ensure that you're consistent as you rate different proposals. Try also to, there are community-based cheat sheets actually that I'm going to try to circulate, and I'm going to add it to the slides here. So we're going to send out the slides, and I'm going to add links at the end to everything. Another tip is make a separate document in a word processor like Google Sheets. So you write everything, make sure it's spelled correctly, you have some good spacing, and you put a star rating, and then you copy paste it over, because you can't trust these like web platforms. Everything might disappear. So make sure you do that, write separately. And it's also important if you want to find your own grades later on. You're only going to get, so the only way you can figure out what grades you got by veteran VPAs is if you wrote down, you remember which proposals you assessed, and then you look at the spreadsheet that's going to be released. Lastly, don't press next, because if you press next, you end up getting a proposal that everyone gets. So all the hundreds of people pressing next get the same proposal. So, and if you assess that one, then you're competing with like everyone else who did it, and the likelihood that you'll get a reward is very, very low. So it's basically a waste of time if you press next and then assess whatever comes up. Instead, you should use the community tool, which is I don't think, it's not linked here, but it's the one where it's the one that I put up on the first slide. So with that said, we now have 3 more minutes for questions, which is very short, but please, if something was unclear, I'm sure there are a lot of unclarities, do ask. Or Ada and the other people in the team, please add if you want to say something.
Does anyone have any questions? I know this could be quite confusing if you're completely new to it, but if you have any specific questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll give it a quick overview. Anyone? Okay, so I'm just going to quickly summarize. So I've put some links in this chat right now, but if everyone can really quickly, you've got like 2 minutes. But if you click on the last link I just sent to give you an example, there's essentially loads of proposals on this website, and they vary from, some are very technical, some aren't so technical. The one that the link I put in right now is a good example, because there's some, for the most part, the projects are quite easy to understand. And as a proposal assessor, you basically read the proposal and assess based on the criteria that Simon mentioned earlier. To become a proposal assessor is quite simple. You go into that link and you sign up. You're going to have to make a wallet, but I can send you guys like details after on how to do that. Again, that's really simple. And honestly, to do with proposal assessment, it's quite simple, but it's just about doing it and seeing it for yourself. Like Simon showed previously the example of what it looks like when you're reviewing. Essentially, you're just reviewing the proposals, and you get on average $60 for a good review or $180 for an excellent review. And the more you do, I guess the more efficient you become. So it's really like, it's honestly a really great opportunity to just like sort of get more involved with the ecosystem, learn more, and get paid to do it. There's no minimum, you don't have to pay anything, like it's completely free. And yeah, it's honestly, it's really good. So hopefully that made some sense and you've got some insight into it. If not, just message any of us, and I've put some links in the chat, so save them too. If anyone has any questions, we've got 1 minute. I think some are example assessments we can look at. Yeah, they are. So there's a whole proposal assessor guide. I'm just going to paste it again. Or if you scroll up, Cardano, Oxford, you'll see it's there, but I'm going to just paste it again here. So if you click on that, save that, and there's loads of examples there. And yeah, and Simon had just shown a link here. So when you send this slides, you'll see it.
So now I'm just showing you guys the proposal assessor tool that I strongly recommend that you use.
Yeah,
but
got less than a minute, but
less than a minute.
Just email, message if you've got any questions. But hopefully that was a bit clearer. Just I think the best thing is to have a look around and then start reading proposals and think about what you think too. And then you can start noting it down. Use something like Google Docs or Microsoft Word to write your reviews first so you don't lose it. And yeah, any questions, just let us know.
Yeah. So just join our Discord and you can send questions there. And we're going to send the slides with all the links as well.